pretending, tired of being someone else. Don't want to forget who I really am. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
YTPC, good morning. GhostCob and the lovely Miss Macy are here today on the front porch, smoking the olive wood poker I like to call Ollie. He's darkening up very nicely, and in it some Germain's BK Flake that was gifted to me by Old Berg. Pretty good stuff. Having a cup of mud, to no surprise. So, today you can probably already tell what the video is about because of the intro being all about one of the most wonderful presidents that our country has ever had, Mr. John Fitzgerald Kennedy. This is a VR to Mr. Silent Wisdom Experience. If you have not subbed Chris, well, I don't even know why you wouldn't sub Chris to begin with, but any words. If for some reason you haven't heard of Chris yet, that would probably be the only reason why you wouldn't have subbed Silent Wisdom Experience, Mr. Chris. You need to go over there and do that. So I'll put the name and the link in the bucket. Conspiracy theories. Very, very interesting thing, Chris, that you asked for, my friend. Very interesting thing. Because a lot of people have conspiracy theories. Some don't really, care or give a crap about it all or whatever. But me, I'm not a real big conspiracy theory kind of guy, but I'm going to share this one with you today. I'm using the Motivator. Harriet Herford decided to name this the Motivator. Seeing that, seeing that'll motivate you. If you need that little oomph at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? So, they're trying to tell us Americans that Mr. Lee Harvey Oswald was the one who took the shots from the school book depository on November 22nd, 1963 and killed President Kennedy. I've tried to shoot this video, Chris, 3 times, and I've been 0 for 3. So, I'm going to try again. Maybe this one will work. I don't know. So they're saying that Lee Harvey Oswald was the single shooter on that day from the school book depository at an elevated area. He was able to get 4 shots off in 5.6 seconds, and he was able to hit 3 of the 4 shots. Headshots. And one of them was the magic bullet. The magic bullet theory came from some knucklehead. And he said that the bullet came through President Kennedy's back of his neck and through his throat and in through the shoulder of the governor of Texas in front of him. Nah. Secret Servicemen were given the same firearm. 3 of the best sharpshooters for the Secret Service were given the same firearm, same ammunition, and put in the same situation. And not one of them could make those shots. So you're trying to tell me a person that was documented as a U.S. Marine, as a subpar Marine, made those shots on that day? Yeah. Because being out of the service, he could afford on his salary to be able to shoot, I don't know, 2,000-3,000 rounds a day to keep his ability up in shooting. Yep. Don't think so. Now, I don't think he was alone anyway, because when you look at the film, the supposable magic bullet shot took 1.6 seconds to go from the back seat and where it struck President Kennedy into the shoulder or collarbone area, I guess, of the governor of Texas. Now, I don't know about you folks, but if you've ever shot in a gun, you and I both know it ain't going to take 1.6 seconds for a bullet shot from a higher elevated area to go from the front seat, from the back seat to the front seat of a vehicle in 1.6 seconds. It maybe took 1.6 seconds for that bullet to go from the barrel to its resting point. That I'll give you. But it didn't take no 1.6 seconds, folks, for it to go from the back seat to the front seat. No, that's a bunch of baloney. The government are awful liars. They need to get better at it. So, then you add the other interesting theory to it. Jackie O, arguably the best first lady to ever live. And I say arguably because some people will say that, Barbara Bush was a better first lady or Nancy Reagan was a better first lady. Eleanor Roosevelt was a fantastic first lady. There are some first ladies that could easily be argued into that list. How many of them would have covered their husband immediately in the ring in gunfire? That there you could probably narrow it down to 2, maybe 3, off of the list that I gave you. Maybe even just 1. But they did a autopsy in the state of Texas at the Houston hospital. Let's even backtrack to that. So they took him in that car to the hospital. They unloaded President Kennedy, took him into the hospital, did their thing. Okay? At 1 p.m., 1300 hours in Houston, Texas on that day, November 22nd, 1963, our president, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, was pronounced dead. Okay? Meanwhile, the Secret Service had cleaned the car with all the evidence and bagged it and threw it away. That raises a flag. Not being a smartass, I'm not being ignorant, but they didn't even clean the car that Tupac Shakur was killed in for days. But they did President Kennedy's immediately. I think they're trying to hide something, folks. Bless you, Macy. And then they had an autopsy done. Well, the autopsy that was done in Houston, Texas, the autopsy shown that it was strictly not an elevated shot, and that, he was killed by gunfire, but it was basically, a head-on shot or a minor elevated area, hence the grassy knoll, is what the autopsy had said. That's all they've allowed to get out anyway. So the government wasn't happy with that. So, of course, they kept that under wraps. Had President Kennedy's body put into a casket, took him over to the Houston airport, had him loaded onto Air Force One, and Jackie O joined him there. She sat with him until Lyndon Johnson asked for her to come up for him to be sworn in, so she did. Another little fun-filled fact. The casket would not fit in Air Force One, so they had to take the hucklebarrels off, which are the railings on the caskets. Hence, that's where the saying from Tombstone came, "I'm your huckleberry," when it should have been, "I'm your hucklebarrel," is what he should have said. That's the people that carry the casket. That's the people that hold that end of the casket. Anyway. So, they took those off. They were able to slide the casket in. They transported him, President Kennedy, back to D.C., and they all, of course, then President Johnson, because he would be president at that point then. They had him taken to another hospital there in D.C., and they had another autopsy done. Get ready for this one, folks. The individual that did the autopsy in D.C. had never done an autopsy before. But it would be a good idea for him to do the autopsy on the first assassinated president since Abraham Lincoln. That's a good idea. So he does the autopsy, and lo and behold, folks, surprise, surprise, guess what? He said that the gunshots came from an elevated area and from the same firearm. So magically, then they could pin it on Mr. Oswald and call it a day. Now, you look at President Kennedy and you see a man who was a father, was a relatively very, very well-loved president, and was generally a good Democrat. A lot of people loved him, Republicans and Democrats. At that point in time, parties really didn't mean much because he was such a good person, a good businessman, that he could convince anybody to help him do what he thought was best. But in the same sense, he wanted what was best for the American people. After all, folks, he was a ranked lieutenant in the United States Navy. He served from 1941 to 1945. He was served a United States Navy and Marine Medal. He received the Purple Heart. He received 2 other medals, which I cannot remember what they were. I can't remember quite the name of them. But he was very highly decorated. Not everybody has a Purple Heart these days, still in today's society. So for him to have a Purple Heart says a lot as well. Truly, truly loved our country. And I think that's the part that really sorrows me, is that despite all of that, he wanted to end the Vietnam War. In October of that year, he released a plan to get us out of Vietnam. He was in war, obviously. He did not want to put our boys and girls in them situations. And the government didn't want that, because the government's philosophy is it's great for our economy. Who cares if people, husbands and wives are losing their spouses, or who cares if mothers and fathers are burying their children? That doesn't matter. The economy's going to be good. Gotta love our government. He wanted to pull out because he knew what was going on over there. He was a part of it. He knew he didn't want to be involved in it. So I think that's why the government had him killed. Lyndon Johnson was a yes man. He was a sissy. And he wanted to be president. He wanted to have all the power. And he got it. Some say he was even involved in it. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think anybody will ever know really the truth of that. But it saddens me to see that our country would be, over a political thought and opinion, we are willing to make a woman a widow. We are willing to have children grow up without their father because we don't agree with their opinion. And that's the government that did that, folks. That truly saddens me. It truly, truly saddens me. So, I hope you enjoy this. It's almost 20 minutes. I was teasing Chris and saying it was going to be a half an hour, 45 minutes, and man, oh day, it probably could be. I didn't even really touch on the Jack Ruby thing or any of that, so I could have easily gone another 20 minutes, I think. But I'm going to end it here. I really, truly hope that this is what you were looking for, Chris. Please do as Chris asks. Don't be negative. Don't be nasty. Don't call me a moron because I believe in this, and this is my theories, and this is what I think. A lot of the stuff that I did share with you is fact. You can Google it. You can do whatever you want. But, it truly is sad that our government did that. And I just have a hard time believing that our government was not the one that was involved in it. I really do. So, before I go, I got 2 shout-outs I'd like to do. Silent Wisdom Experience, obviously, Mr. Chris. Thank you, Chris, for the opportunity. Congratulations on all your subs. I know this is just because it's Tuesday Gall, but I do want to congratulate you on all your subs because, brother, they're very, very well deserved. Also, I would like to say that if you're looking for a leather tray or anything, that is the man to get a hold of. He does some amazing backy trays and stuff like that. Please get a hold of him as well. And I also would like to shout out a feller named B Short. The letter B as in boy, short, good feller, under 100 subs. And I would like to also shout out Mr. Max Wolf Northwest, Phil. What great guys they are. They have fantastic channels. They're worth a lot more subs than what they got, folks. So until we can get together, pack a pipe, or light a good cigar, let all that you do be done in love. Y'all take care and God bless. And remember, ask not what you can do for your country. Ask not what your country can do for you. It's what you can do for your country. See, I'm not Kennedy. I can't even do it right.